aboard FS Mania's flight, the Phenom 100 to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And if you're just now joining us, we are currently taxiing for departure on taxiway Alpha to runway 35 right. We have our IFR clearance and we're all set to go. We'll be departing momentarily, so buckle up and enjoy the flight. We have a special passenger on board with us today. We'll be revealing who that is at some point in this flight. And fun fact about the passenger, she was involved in a crash in Jackson Hole, and this is the first flight she's been back there since then. And the flight that she was flying was a light business class jet, and so FS Mania is the only pilot that she trusts to fly her back in there. So we are flying her in today, and give you a hint, she's a famous person and an actress. So we'll be revealing her name and a little bit later on in the flight. Okay, let's just go ahead and do a before takeoff. Set our parking brake. We won't roll away. Click spot for this is a little tricky. I think I've said that already. I'll say it again. And we want to go ahead and cut on our flight director. We're going to go into the heading mode. So we should see the airplane wings. And when we cut on our autopilot, we're heading in pitch right now. We should see it go to capture altitude select at 11,000 feet right there. And yaw damper is off. Anti-ice as required. We'll leave that off until we get off the ground. We'll probably need it today. And external lights, we'll cut on our landing light and our strobe lights. And our panel lights are on. Okay. And cast messages, we need to check those out, and basically the parking brake, and switch over here to the tower. We're on COM 2, and so tower is 18-9er, and we'll give them a call. Tower, this is Phenom 1367 Romeo at 35 right, holding short, ready to go. Phenom 1367 Romeo, wind 350 at 11, fly runway heading, runway 35 right, cleared for takeoff. Cleared to go on 35 right for 35 Romeo. Okay, the brakes released. There we go. And let's bring our power back up there to over 50% to get this thing rolling. A little more.
495, Centennial Tower, continue runway 35 for right, try to be in position.
So we're going to apply full power. We're going to rotate at 103 knots, and we are going to get the gear up. We have positive rate of climb, get the flaps up, and we will fly runway heading. We'll set our autopilot and be ready to contact departure. And they are tuned in. Not yet, so we want to do that. Tune them in before we start rolling. Rather do it here on the ground. We'll just pause right here for a moment. Get departure set up in there. So departure is 13275. So there they are there. Now we're still active on COM 2 for tower. So all that's good. Okay. Handling the radios is a chore in any airplane. So you have to understand. Tower, sorry for that delay. 67 Romeo is rolling now on 35 right. 67 Romeo, roger. Get out of Dodge. Airspeed's alive. 60 knots. There's 100. Raise our nose up. Positive rate and gear up. And flaps up. Turn that nose down just a little bit. And let's go ahead and cut on our autopilot. Altitude select, heading mode. And I'm going to bring the power back. Phenom 67 Romeo, contact departure. Have a good flight. On to departure, 67 Romeo. Good day. Okay, so we just need now to flip up here to COM 1, and we can call departure. Departure, Phenom 1367 Romeo, climbing out of Centennial, flew through 7,300 for 11,000, runway heading. Phenom 1367 Romeo, Denver departure, radar contact. You're 3 miles north of Centennial Airport, fly heading 330, climb and maintain 16,000. 330 on the heading and 16,000 for 67 Romeo. We can go ahead and turn to the heading he gave us, and let's plug in 16,000 on our altitude. Climb rate, and see if we can, keeping an eye on the temperature. I'm going to go ahead and cut on some anti-icing as well. So we're at -3 and visible moisture without a doubt, so we definitely want to make sure we don't ice up here. Phenom 67 Romeo, resume on navigation. Resuming on navigation for 67 Romeo. Okay, so we're going to intercept this magenta line here. I just want to keep an eye on that. And in order to do that, we need to come over here and put the CDI on GPS so we can keep an eye on when we come onto our course line. Try not to blow through it. And we're doing 240 knots, climbing through 11,300 feet. Let's go ahead and get off our landing light. Strobes are on. Okay, good. Picking up a few bumps here on the climb out. And I'm going to go ahead and put us in the nav mode, autopilot, and we'll start turning on course towards our first waypoint, which is Embraer. And we're set on continuous climb detent, and the FADEC then will adjust the engine based on altitude, temperature, and other parameters to give us the right amount of fuel. But auto throttle we do not have, and so we have to keep an eye on our speed. Now we can set this and it will hold speed for us. It's really designed to do it within a certain range. When we have certain settings up here, it's really not modeled correctly, so I'm just not going to use it, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on our speed, and we can bring our vertical speed down. Right now I've got it set up here at 1800, so we can bring that down as we climb and our speed starts to drop. So we're climbing out of Denver, we're on our way. And we're leveling off now at 16,000. We'll watch our speed come up. Our ground speed right now is meager 163 knots. We're bucking a 42 knot headwind, flying westerly, which is very common for this time of year. We're at 16,000 feet, and we're burning right now. Fuel burn is, let me get in here closer where I can see it. Fuel burn is 508 pounds per hour at 84% on the N1, and our speed's rising, but we want to go faster and go higher, so we're going to request center 67 Romeo, request higher. 67 Romeo, climb and maintain flight level 240 out of 160 for 240 for 67 Romeo. So going up. Set. And right now it looks like we're about 1,000 feet a minute on the vertical speed, and we're not able to maintain. I'm going to go ahead and add some power in here. I'm going to bring us on up to the top of the green arc and get a little bit more performance out of this. We have plenty of fuel. I'm not worried about that. I'm actually more concerned with performance and speed. Fuel is free in Flight Simulator, so we're gonna just don't want to blow up our engine. There's 90%, and I see our indicated airspeed is rising. So on the way to Zimmer, and I've noticed in flying this airplane, as we look at the scenery and the Rocky Mountains, the setting sun in the west, that this airplane, in terms of performance, it's not as powerful as many jets are. It is a very light class business jet, and the engines are rated, I think, about 1,600 pounds thrust each. Without looking at my notes, somewhere in there. And we did take off pretty close to gross weight, just a couple hundred pounds under gross with full load of fuel, and one passenger on board. Her initials are SB, and I'm going to tell you, I think you'll be surprised at who we've got flying, who's been in a crash at Jackson Hole. And we're IFR, so we're going to just hang on. Let's just look at outside air temperatures, -20. We get a little bit higher, it gets a little bit colder, we can ditch the anti-ice, because after it gets below colder than -20, it won't be as much of a factor. But so we should be there pretty soon, climbing through 18,000 now. And since we are climbing through 18,000, I'm going to go ahead and set our altimeter up on 29902, standard pressure above 18,000, 18,000, and we'll set it up here on the standby. There we go. That's done. And let's take a look at our check. We want to look at our pressurization. We're set up on auto, and our cabin altitude currently is 8,000 feet. and the delta P is 4 psi. Landing field elevation set 6,500. Oxygen pressure is 1450. It's normal. Landing gear is up, flaps are up, and the autopilot's having a good time with the pitch trim. And all is well. We'll look at N2 is 90%. Airspeed indicated is 230. Ground speed 263. Climbing at 1,200 feet a minute. All that looks good. Pretty pleased. Looking at fuel flow, 650 pounds per hour. Definitely will use up our fuel in a hurry. So there's some synoptics that we can look at to see a little bit more information, and when we do that while we're climbing out here. So this is the electrical synoptic, and it's showing us we've got 2 generators, one on each engine, and 28 volts each, 13 amps right now, and they're putting out the batteries. Both are 24 volts. Everything's in the green. If we were to say lose a generator, we would one, get a warning. 2, we could see it on the synoptic, and I'll cut that off. There's the warning, and you can see it turn white. So we'll cut that back on. With all this anti-ice on, we need to be sure we keep all our power on, windshield heat particularly. Let's see where we are, minus 26. So let's go over to the ice protection, and you can see everything's green and indicating that it is on. So we cut off the windshield heat. It goes white, and then we can cut off our engine protection, and that's white. And we can cut off our stabilizer there, and now all the anti-ice is white. So we get a nice picture of that. Environmental control system, you can see I've not even really cut it on, but it's maintaining 68 degrees in the cockpit, 66 in the cabin, and I bet our passenger's a little chilly, but I couldn't raise it if my life depended on it, because I cut these wide open. I cut on everything blasting away. It stays there, so it's really not modeled. And we can look here, and we have just keep an eye on. We're turning on, making a turn at the Zimmer intersection towards the Kremlin BOR, and climbing through 220. All is well. Hydraulic pressure is good. Oxygen pressure is good. The emergency brake pressure is 0, and yeah, 0. Don't know that that's good. Our true airspeed right now is 322 knots. And let's see what else we got over here. I think that's all on the status. You can see the doors are all closed. It would show us if one was open. And so that's a pretty handy little feature. So did we look at all of them? Environmental control, electric, fuel. Did not look at the fuel, but I can see from here it's showing full fuel. It's showing it in kilograms, even though it's showing us in pounds over here. Kilograms over here, and I haven't found a way to change that. But we can look and see we're now up almost at 24,000, flight level 240, and we're burning 560 pounds per hour. And we're going to look at some other pages here in just a bit, but there's our fuel, and so we can also see our pumps in action here. And I'm not sure, because I have not read the entire manual, 600 pages of pilot operating handbook. That looks like a check valve to me, and this looks like maybe a fill port, potentially. Not sure. Or could be one of these could be a drain for the fuel sumps. I don't know for sure on that, but at any rate, everything is in the green there. So let's see what it looks like out here. Okay, we're above the cloud deck now at flight level 240. Rocky Mountain High. Who's saying that? John Denver. On our way to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So that's our departure and transition to climb to our cruise, and let me back us out of there. And we are approaching now our flight level. We're leveling off, indicating 240 knots, 290 knots ground speed. Expect that to go up a little higher. We got these engines maxed out here. I mean, we can definitely go, obviously we can go faster with them, but we don't want to. And just let me look at the performance chart, what we should be expecting at flight level 240 at 10,000 pounds gross weight, which is pretty much where we are. At 93.1% on the N1, we should be burning about 538 pounds per hour, indicating about 270 knots, which would true out around 385, and that's with the international standard atmosphere, and about Mach 0.63. So we could inch those engines up just a little bit more and probably squeeze a little bit more out of them, but I think we'll just leave well enough alone. I can see our airspeed continuing to creep up, and there's the barber pole. That's the do not exceed. So we're heading up that way, 259, 60 knots right there, and 312 knots ground speed. I'm pretty happy with that for our cruise phase of our flight. So I'm not going to force you to stay with me throughout this whole cruise segment. What we'll do is we're going to end part 2 right here, and part 3 will be our approach and descent and approach into Jackson Hole. And when we come back, we will have a few fun facts about Jackson Hole, and stay tuned for that. There's some interesting things that I did not know about Jackson Hole that I've learned in my research. And we'll descend and shoot the ILS and land and check it out. So thanks for being with me on this part of the flight, and thanks for watching from FS Mania. Have a good day. So long.